In this screencast, we're going to take a look at how we name polyatomic ions. Remember, polyatomic ions are ions that are made up of more than two elements, okay? So many atoms. So we're going to be dealing with 3 or more elements in the compound. Some examples of polyatomic ions are NO3 with a -1 charge, or NH4 with a +1 charge. So both of these are examples of polyatomic ions. We know they're polyatomic because they're made up of more than one atom. So our compounds with polyatomic ions have 3 or more elements. Recall from the polyatomic ion table that we have one positively charged polyatomic ion. That's going to be NH4 with a +1 charge, and that is ammonium. And the majority of our polyatomic ions are negative. There were actually 11 negative polyatomic ions that you needed to learn. Let's take a look at the example Na2CO3. You should recognize from your polyatomic chart that CO3 is the polyatomic ion carbonate. So we're just going to write that name down, carbonate. It does not change. We're not changing any endings. We're not adding anything special. It's just simply the name from your polyatomic ion chart. Next, we're going to look at the first element in the compound, and Na is the symbol for sodium. So Na2CO3 is simply sodium carbonate. Another example would be CaOH2. In this case, we have the polyatomic ion OH2. It's pretty easy to pick out because it's in the parentheses. I'm going to name that polyatomic ion, and I know from my polyatomic ion sheet that OH is hydroxide. So again, I just write the name down. I'm not changing anything, adding anything, or taking anything away. It's just the name from the polyatomic ion chart. Next, I look at the first element in my compound. Ca is the symbol for calcium, so this is calcium hydroxide. Here are 2 more examples. I'm looking at LiCN, and I recognize that Cn is a polyatomic ion. Its name is cyanide. It's one that you're supposed to memorize, and it is on the polyatomic chart. So I name my polyatomic ion, then I go back and look at my other element, Li. I know that Li is the symbol for lithium, so my formula is for lithium cyanide. In my next example, I know my polyatomic ion is in parentheses, so C2H3O2. For my polyatomic chart, I know that that is the formula for the polyatomic ion acetate. The other element that's with it is Al, and I know that Al is the formula for aluminum. So this is aluminum acetate. Okay? So just to recap, the first element is usually, if it's a single element, it's just the name. We use the names for the polyatomic ions, no changes. So we don't change anything for the polyatomic ion name. If you have any questions, please make sure you jot them down and ask Mrs. Benke in class.